The Panthers put on a defensive clinic against Vegas on Saturday, and the plug and play for the Panthers continues to work, and it will have to continue tonight in Sunrise.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Tuesday, October 28th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. Follow the show anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. You can do that all on FanDuel. So, Florida Panther fans, grateful to be back here once again on another edition of the show to discuss everything in the world of the Florida Panthers, and grateful to be back, especially after my vacation. After I got back, did end up watching the Saturday game between the Florida Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights as far as a pretty dominant game, especially with the Panthers putting on a defensive clinic, only allowing 17 shots on goal through the three periods, and especially encouraging after how they tilted the ice in their direction on Thursday night against the Penguins, and then just silly mistakes and a rare dud in goaltending, and the Panthers were able to protect Sergei Bobrovsky really well on Saturday, and the plug and play for the Panthers continued to work, as we saw that in the playoffs last year with the entire fourth line, and it worked as far as plugging in Cole Schwindt into the lineup. We'll discuss more about that in segment number 2, and also the maturation of Mackie Samoskevich. We'll discuss that as well, and who might need to step up even more, and how the different line combinations might be opportunistic for a certain player, especially a certain player who's struggling. That's segment number 2. Segment number 3, we're going to preview tonight's game between the Florida Panthers and the Anaheim Ducks, as the homestand will continue for the Cats coming into this right before they head out west for a road trip. So gotta be quite pleased with the performance that of the Panthers, as what this, I see this once again as a logo game. We've discussed this all of last year when the Panthers were coming off their 2024 Stanley Cup final run. It's whenever you see a logo on the other side of a team that you've seen before or face in a crucial playoff series, in the case of the Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights, it was the 2023 Stanley Cup final, where even if the Panthers were a healthy bunch in that one, even though Matthew Tkachuk did break his sternum, I didn't believe that the Panthers didn't have the firepower available to beat that Vegas Golden Knights team. They were just so well around Adin Hill, and also the fact that they were just so refreshed and a lot better than the Florida Panthers there. And to think that the Vegas Golden Knights still, they're ruthless when it comes to trades, when it comes to refilling the roster, but they always go for it. They always try to win. But the Panthers on Saturday night's game, they remained a very disciplined bunch. I mean, you think about after the penalty that Marchand took 30 seconds into the game, the Panthers were very disciplined from then on out. The only other penalty that they committed on the evening was Jonah Gadjovich going after Jeremy Lauzon after he got hit in the head with an elbow as he was going towards toward gaining the line. And the retaliation, they usually get the second one. But other than that, the Panthers were just disciplined. Their sticks weren't out of position when it came to the Panthers being in their own D zone, taking away the passing lane. So all of the puck movement for the Vegas Golden Knights was staying around the perimeter. So the high danger chances weren't quite there for Vegas. And really, for the Panthers, it was really about disrupting Vegas when it came out of their own end and disrupting the speed through the neutral zone. And the Panthers' ability to dump the puck in, get a proper change, and then continue to get fresh, and nobody's getting caught. Nobody's having to be super aggressive on back checks. And that really was the system for the Florida Panthers really at play. I mean, there was one play where Jack Eichel was trying to gain the zone when we're talking about defensively, as far as Vegas having the puck. Nico Mikkola, he's right there closing the gap, pinning Jack Eichel, and then 2, 3 seconds go, and then there's the support for the Panthers there to get the puck, circle back maybe around the slot in their D zone, and then stretch pass right out. And even if it's a even if it's like a deflection at the red line, and then deflecting it back and getting it deep into the end boards, the Panthers were able to get the proper change. Sorry, as my voice is a little raspy just now based on that but last statement. But the Panthers were able to just limit the time, and they're the first ones to the puck, especially when the Vegas Golden Knights were the team that was trying to play that dump and chase game. As I would say that the Vegas Golden Knights, as far as they're constructed as a little bit of a faster team, in my opinion. And to think that I want to go back to the fact that the Panthers didn't commit too many penalties, only two of them on the evening on Saturday, even on the power play, on the PK, excuse me. The Panthers in their 1-2-1 formation in the D zone, and then their selective pressure whenever the puck does get into the corners, and the Panthers are able to draw and also get back in position to prevent the second chance of scoring opportunities, or even a first chance in the case of Saturday night, because of not allowing chances. The Panthers were just pretty sound there, and it really starts with how you meet the players on the opposition right at the blue line there. But that's really what I really took away from this contest for the Panthers. And really, when you look at the other side for Vegas, yeah, they're without Mark Stone, they're playing a backup goaltender in Akira Schmid, which we spoke about whether he was going to play both ends of the back to back in Tampa Bay and Florida. He ended up playing one of them, so they're really thin on that end. And the Panthers, in this case, for them, just the fact that everybody was keen in on this game, and also it was a no passengers type of game. I mean, I know that term gets thrown around very loosely, but you think about it as I mean, I've had a little bit of my criticism on a guy like Uvis Balinskis, and we really saw, uh, especially throughout the first part of the road trip, how much Dmitry Kulikov is truly missed. Yeah, he's only making 1.15 on the cap. Yeah, he's a third pair D that doesn't log too many minutes like the Forslings and the Ekblads, but what he does defensively and the physicality that he brings, it really truly matters. And at least for Saturday night, Uvis Balinskis really looked apart as a guy who can play consistent minutes on the third pair, and it's going to have to continue that way with how short the Panthers are. And you see how he got that sauce to Carter Verhaeghe and able to get quick in transition, and then flipping it over to Reinhart on his backhand, and then getting it past Aiden Hill, roofing it there. That's really what you want out of that pair, to make sure that they prevent the high danger and then just get it out quickly. And the Panthers getting on their speed. I mean, Carter Verhaeghe more better with speed with off puck, but we saw there how he was able to drive play, then allowing the Vegas Golden Knights to draw, and then Sam Reinhart getting behind the D. So credit to Verhaeghe there on that play. And then the fourth line continuing to get the pucks deep and also work on their forecheck. AJ Greer and Jonah Gadjovich got to work, and then Cole Schwindt was the guy to clean up the mess right in front of the cage. So that's also for the Panthers, just the ability to get to work. And then the other goal that the Panthers scored on the evening, it was a partial change where Brad Marchand, just like the game against the Philadelphia Flyers in that home game, he throws one from the wall, hoping it stuck, and that in this case, it wasn't actually a goal this time around, but the fact that the shot followed through, AJ Greer's momentum was carrying him over to the blue paint, and then he was able to score on the wraparound. That's 3 goals for AJ Greer now on the season. He started the season scoring for the Panthers in the home game against the Chicago Blackhawks, and now he's pretty on pace for at least more than 15 goals on the year, and that's production that you're getting out of your bottom 6 for the Panthers as far as right now. So that's something that's very encouraging for them as a line that's expected to be more of a checking role line. but they're getting the offensive productivity of something that we knew that was going to be possibly missing for this team coming into this season. So the Panthers are being picked up in parts that needed to be picked up. So that's something that's very encouraging when you look at the season that AJ Greer has had so far, and especially because he Nosek is going to be out indefinitely, and the fact that you probably may have a revolving door continuously of who's going to be the fourth line center for the Panthers if this switch between Cole Schwindt and Luke Kunin are going to continue. Although Luke Kunin is expected to be back in the lineup on Tuesday night against Anaheim, which we'll discuss more about later about the why for Luke Kunin being drawn back in. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we're going to discuss the plug and play for the Panthers and how it continues to work. But can it continue to be that way as the Panthers are still trying to navigate? But the Panthers are still quite in a good place despite all the adversity they faced this season. We're going to discuss all that and more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch. And let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401k, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where my money is going and how to make it work harder for me. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarch.com with code LOCKEDONNHL for half off of your first year. And I'd like to thank you guys once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Tuesday, as the Florida Panthers are continuing the homestand tonight, the third game of 4, and so far 1-1-0 on the homestand. But the plug and play continues to work really well for the Panthers. I mean, we saw it in the playoffs last year, and Cole Schwindt, yeah, he was claimed off of waivers from the Vegas Golden Knights facing against his former team. And, sometimes you just need a little bit of a spark, and sometimes you're trying to make certain tweaks before things get any worse. And that's the thing about this coaching staff that's really that the experience is showing for this group on just plugging it in and seeing how it's going to work, and the fact that the Panthers are trying to navigate it now instead of waiting for an injury situation to happen. In the case of Cole Schwindt drawing in for Luke Kunin on Saturday night, I mean that really for me, when you look at the size of Cole Schwindt and also the fact that you need guys who could work along the walls and like I said, make sure that the puck gets out in transition fast, and the fact that that you not only is it trying to have the opposition reset in the case that the puck is intercepted by someone on the opposing blue line, but that you're able to get the forwards to get back over there and use their sticks to disrupt something, and hopefully in the case get a breakaway opportunity as well. So that is definitely what the Panthers are hoping. And Cole Schwindt, who him and his brother Kai, I've not interviewed Cole Schwindt in person because when he was traded, I was not fully credentialed in the media yet, but I have interviewed Kai a whole bunch of times in rookie showcase tournaments and training camp. So Cole Schwindt looks humongous on TV. Interviewing Kai, he's also humongous as well. So that's no gym sessions are missed in that family, as well as great meals as well, is what I got to say about the Schwindt brothers and the Schwindt family. But also the fact that he was part of that Matthew Tkachuk trade, and the Panthers get him back as well. So just a full circle. And yikes, that trade is looking a lot worse for Calgary as the days go by, only having that first round pick left, which they just drafted this year in Cullen Potter. That's the pick that they used for number 2 overall for Calgary. And right now, Calgary's not really in a good place as they've only won twice in the first 10 games of the season. Jonathan Huberdeau recently going back into the lineup in game number 3 or 4, and they still can't find any offense. But Cole Schwindt, he only played 3 games for the Panthers prior to the trade, and the 3 games that he played were all situations that the Panthers needed just bodies, not necessarily because they wanted to see how the prospects look. Because the first game that he played when he made his NHL debut, the Panthers, half of the team was out due to COVID in December. It was a Friday game against the LA Kings, or Thursday, mind you, I remember, if I remember correctly. And half the lineup was out. They get destroyed by LA, but it was a result that everybody was expected because it was the AHL team playing at that time. That's before 3 games were rescheduled and rescheduled during the Olympic break at the time. That's how long ago it was when Cole Schwindt made his debut with the Florida Panthers. It was the Olympics where it was the Olympic year where the Panthers were trying to go to Beijing there, but the NHL then said no. And then the last 2 games of the season in that very same year, when the Panthers were trying to wrap up the President's Trophy, which they won in Ottawa, they had to wait a few hours until the Nashville Predators defeated the Colorado Avalanche for the Panthers to officially clinch the President's Trophy. And then the Panthers, Cole Schwindt played in that game against Montreal where they gave up 10 goals against Montreal in Carey Price's last game. Crazy to think. And that's Cole Schwindt's history with the Panthers. That's it. That's all he had prior to Saturday night for the Panthers. But the Panthers are hoping to get him more of those reps, get the fourth line going, and also another player that they could possibly use on the penalty kill, which that is a little bit in flux right now because of the fact that Marchand is going to be missing Tuesday night's game against the Anaheim Ducks due to a death in the family. So he not injury related, but he's going to be out of the lineup. So Cole Schwindt might have to play some penalty kill minutes even more when the Anaheim Ducks come to town. So that is going to be a big piece of hopefully getting a key draw, shot blocking, disrupting right at the blue line to at least have them reset. And that's really what's gonna be something that I'm going to be looking for Cole Schwindt and his as he's still trying to at least be a consistent player in a roster. And this second chance with the Florida Panthers, that so far so good through 1 game, although it was mostly AJ Greer and Jonah Gadjovich doing the work prior to him coming in and scoring there. But I'm really encouraged by the maturation of Mackie Samoskevich. He's still hot. He was a big force on the power play, although he didn't get any points on the evening on Saturday night. What he's able to do on the power play and still battling down low, where most of the players that are spending the time down low are Brad Marchand, Anton Lundell, and Mackie Samoskevich. Those are not the biggest of guys. Anton Lundell, I would say, is the strongest and tallest of the 3, but Marchand, even though he's on the shorter side, he does outmuscle a lot of guys there as well. But Mackie Samoskevich is really showing how he's able to just battle it, and then get those pucks back up high towards the blue line and work those low to high plays. And also, the power play was actually very encouraging because they tried that set play once again from one of the flanks and used that backdoor play with Brad Marchand right on the blue paint. So the Panthers tried that for a second game in a row. How often is that going to be a play that the Panthers are going to be able to get away with? Because these teams watch tape, and the fact that the Panthers went 2 games in a row using that play, I don't know if that's going to be available in the future there for the Panthers, but we will see. But they did also were very successful in trying to get the puck to Sam Reinhart in the bumper position instead of using the play at the goal line and then setting him up in the bumper. We saw mostly from point, right flank, and then right back to Sam Reinhart in there and getting grade A opportunities. And that was mostly a setup play by Anton Lundell, which we've also seen how well he's battled. And as far as his vision and hockey IQ, we've truly seen that. But also other players that I want to see more from Carver Hagee. Yeah, he was able to drive the play in the middle for that goal to Sam Reinhart, but the shooting percentage hasn't really been higher than or back to his career average like what we've seen, and it's actually lower through 10 games. And 10 games is enough of a sample size to say, this is more than 10%, around 12% of the season now. So this is enough of a sample size to kind of see how trends are starting to go, which we'll discuss more of that maybe later in the week, as the Panthers will have a little bit of break between tonight's game and Saturday's game on the homestand. But we will see more about what trends have we believe are sustainable and which trends from home to road, and we'll look at all the splits there later in the week. But Carter Hagee still hasn't really taken over, and yeah, we don't expect them to be to be 40 goals without an Alexander Barkov, but the fact that is that he's still shooting even lower of a percentage than he was last year, uh, even through 10 games. That's a little bit of a concern there. And really, what it comes down to is truly sometimes when you have the puck, and even if you are a left-handed shot working on that on the left circle, and you're shooting from your opportunities of getting goals to the far side are less likely. Goaltenders are easily more available to read those plays. uh Carter Hagee has to try to find a way to get the more of those opportunities down the middle, and also try harder to beat the goaltenders on the short side. So that's a little bit of I wouldn't say a disadvantage for Carter Hagee, but that's a little bit of a struggle that we are seeing with there. Evan Rodriguez, not at center, I thought he's been a lot better lately. He's been able to win a lot of key draws. I know the percentage says 45.5 on the season, but his ability to still get key ones and still use the walls to his advantage, especially when the draw is being taken from the right side of the ice. If he has an opportunity and the puck is right behind him, and he sees an opportunity to bounce it off the walls, even if there's a blue liner not there to close it, and there. We've seen how he's been able to just make those quick decisions there, and that's also uh, something very a little valuable that I've seen from Evan Rodriguez in those times where he's taken those draws from the D zone. And also with Sam Bennett going down to the third line, he hasn't really gotten it going. 2 points in 10 games right now for Sam Bennett. Where was working on that line with Jesper Boquist and Mackie Samoskevich, two speedsters, two guys with great hands, and Sam Bennett being more of the guy who's the bruiser, who could be his own F1 when it comes to especially dumping the puck in. This is his opportunity to possibly get a little bit more of confidence right now for himself, as he's facing more of those bottom six matchups, and it's very important for Sam Bennett to at least get that one going, so that it helps the rest of the lineup to at least continue to roll. And that's something that we saw Paul Maurice, even Steve Goldstein on the broadcast even mentioned it. It wasn't really about gamesmanship with the coaching. It was just more allowing, even when Vegas was putting a certain line, it wasn't necessarily line matching. It was a lot trusting your guys. And to think that the Panthers, with how thin they are right now, and they're still just rolling them instead of trying so hard to line match, definitely shows the trust that this coaching staff has in this group. So definitely got to be very pleased. The Panthers haven't lost their spot in the playoffs in October, but they haven't gained their spot in the playoffs. So this is actually a pretty decent spot for the Panthers to be in right now. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we are going to preview tonight's game between the Florida Panthers and the Anaheim Ducks as the homestand continues from sunrise. We'll discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA and the NHL. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score to the next fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers 300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up to play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA and the Locked On Podcast Network. Segment number 3 here on this Tuesday, October 28th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And I want to give a shout out to former Panther and Stanley Cup champion Brandon Montour, saying that we are thinking of him during this very difficult time, as he took a leave of absence with the Seattle Kraken due to attend a family issue with his brother, who unfortunately died of ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. And credit to the Kraken, who wore the shirt that said Cam Strong, Cam for his brother. And we are thinking of Brandon Montour during this very difficult time. And he was available to the media when he came back to the team and was very vulnerable. So uh, our thoughts are with the family, the Montour family, during this very difficult time. But the Panthers welcome in the Anaheim Ducks today, and it's Frozen Frenzy Day for the NHL, as all 32 teams, will be in action tonight. 16 matchups all the way starting at 6 p.m. and going all the way to at least 2 o'clock in the morning. Not as late as the World Series last night, as I fell asleep right before the ending, at least an hour and a half before the ending of that one. So we hope it doesn't go that long as far as tonight. It's basically red zone for hockey. And if you want also red zone for hockey, if you happen to be north of the border, the Amazon Prime Coast to Coast show that they put there with Jody Shelley, Pat Maroon is on there. That one is an outstanding success for what they've been able to do to allow hockey fans to see multiple games and seeing what's going on in the action across the league. But some also roster moves for the Panthers here. Tobias Bjornfot has been loaned to the Charlotte Checkers, which means Donovan Zabrango, who the Panthers claimed off of waivers a few weeks ago, looks like he's going to be the seventh defenseman for the Panthers for at least the time being. So, like we mentioned, no Brad Marchand. He's dealing with a loss in the family. And also, Jonah Gadjovich, he's out at least a week. We believe it's from the hit that Jeremy Lauzon had on him back on Saturday, as he was called for the penalty for retaliation. And good for the Panthers for standing up for him at the very end of that game against the Vegas Golden Knights, where Gadjovich was held back. And then we had 3 Vegas Golden Knight players on AJ Greer trying to defend his teammate. So even in a dominant win for the Panthers, you see that the unity of the team is quite there for the Panthers. So credit to the squad there. So Noah Gregor is expected to make his Panthers debut, and Luke Cunnin will be drawing back in, and he will be drawing back in on the wing, as he's expected to be on Cole Schwindt's wing, and Noah Gregor is going to be on the left side. So expect the minutes to be really, really dominant towards the top 9 for the Panthers, which the Rodriguez line is expected to be the same with Verhaeghe and Reinhart. And Mackie Semiskevich, who was with Sam Bennett in the last game, he's going to be up with Anton Lundell and Eetu Luostarinen. So 2 defensively dominant forwards, and Mackie Semiskevich hoping to create some offense from the defense that's helping him out there. But as far as the Anaheim Ducks, a team that I'm not expected. I don't expect to make the playoffs, but I do expect them to be one of those teams who are maybe like the first team out. Making trades last season, bringing in Chris Kreider, who's a net front presence on the power play, Jacob Trouba, who's a bruiser and a leader, as the New York Rangers were going through a little bit of a purge on their roster last year. And then bringing in guys like Mikael Granlund, who I thought was outstanding in the Four Nations. And then after that with the Dallas Stars, on how he was trying to and a big part of them getting to the Western Conference Final, they signed him to a contract. But Mikael Granlund right now is day-to-day. If he were to play, he looks to be on the third line. So we'll see about their status. Radko Gudas, former Panther, is also on day-to-day. So we'll see if he ends up playing for the Panthers, also their captain. But it's a big mix of youth and veterans. Leo Carlson being a draft pick of theirs, Bennett Seneca being a draft pick of theirs, and also guys who have grown in their system, like Jackson Lacombe. He was available for the USA in their orientation camp. He got an invite there, so he's definitely on the radar. Also, Luke Hughes got extended for $9 million. Also, Jackson Lacombe, for the Anaheim Ducks got extended. Luke Hughes plays for the Devils. He got that extension that kind of reset everything for the defense market, helping Jackson Lacombe also get that same salary. Also getting rid of the John Gibson contract. Also telling Lucas Dostal, excuse me, you are the guy. You are the number one goalie on our team. And then another mix of veterans. I mentioned Killorn, Troy Terry, who's 28 years old and making a pretty good salary for the Anaheim Ducks. Cutter Gauthier, who they traded from the Philadelphia Flyers in the Jamie Drysdale deal as well. The Pat Verbeek, their general manager, tough negotiator. He was hoping to get something out of that trade, and very, very encouraging when it comes to the mix. Still maybe a little bit inexperienced, which is actually going to possibly hurt them in late games in the season. But this is a team that's on their way up, and also with getting a new coach into the mix, which former Panthers head coach Joel Quenneville, who he had to resign from his position with the Florida Panthers after game number 7, when the Panthers started 7-0-0 that year, 4 years ago. We mentioned Cole Schwindt making his Panthers debut. That was the same year that Joel Quenneville resigned from his position with the Florida Panthers after the scandal that happened in Chicago. Had to resign from his position. And also, we don't know if the Panthers were still continuing to pay him or not. But that's information that's not known publicly as far as that. But making his first return, he did return to Chicago just last week. But that was where all the stuff went down, and that was a little bit more of an awkward type of night for Joel Quenneville making his return, knowing that news was public. But his first return here since the resignation, the Florida Panthers happened to be the team that he was on next. And we definitely saw a little bit of adversity for the Panthers team at that time, losing their coach 7 games into the season, Andrew Burnett coming in. But Joel Quenneville getting a new opportunity in Anaheim, which the trend is very similar as far as looking at a young roster and seeing how this could be one that could possibly take that next step. When he first went to the Chicago Blackhawks in 2008, 2009, they made the Western Conference Final their first year. Is it to that same level of the Anaheim Ducks from what I see this season? Not necessarily. I don't see that, but I do expect them to take a big step forward. So we will see what Joel Quenneville is able to bring this Anaheim Ducks team, as the Panthers are going to be seeing them twice in the next week, as they'll have their home game tonight, and then next Tuesday the Panthers will begin a West Coast trip starting in Anaheim at the Pond. So we're going to see a lot of the youth and the vets for this Anaheim Ducks team, as it'll be a fun one. The Panthers are looking to once again continue to play well at home, which they've done with the exception of the Pittsburgh game. And hopefully it's another step in the right direction as the Panthers continue this plug and play. It won't be the end for tonight's game, and it's only going to continue. So how much more can we see plug and play and them contributing to a win? But that's going to do it for today's episode of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. On tomorrow's edition of the show, Jacob Winans will be back here to recap the Panthers Ducks matchup, and then we look forward to the rest of the homestand for the Panthers. But thank you, as always, guys, for listening. And in the meantime, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez, signing off. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, with your team every day.